Members of Congress, my name is Bobby Ryerson, and I'm a public school teacher at Ladue High School. Now, people propose many different ways to help our economy, but I think the best way is through education. Now, our nation spends more money on education than any other nation in the world, yet we're ranked 36th in the world for quality and quantity of high school diplomas. So why is that? Well, a lot of the money we put in there is not efficiently or effectively put in there. So money is put into the public school education system without a certain drive or purpose, and it's kind of just throwing money at them, and it's not well organized. So what I propose is that we put our money in more specific things like certain programs and certain curriculums. Now currently, according to the OECD, which is an organization that looks at economies around the world, our country is ranked more in the middle of education standards. And that's because our curriculum is a little weak. And I took a look at the federal curriculum which is required, and currently there's only 3 requirements, which is English, math, and some kind of social studies. So what I think we should do is we should have all those things, but include also a certain science and practical skills requirement. So one of the classes I teach in high school is public speaking and ethics. So the reason I teach these classes is because they're classes that students are going to use in life forever. And these classes are very applicable to things in life that they'll come across, ways that they're going to communicate with people or better understand how life works. And so I propose we include these kind of practical skills in our curriculums and require maybe a critical thinking or problem solving kind of class, which allows students to get a better perspective of what they're going to face in the real world. Because regardless of what job they're going into, they're going to have critically think and problem solve at one point. And this creates more of an American dream because it allows students who might not come from the best economic background to have the best education and create something that could benefit our economy and benefit our country as a whole. So our teachers are very important. So public school teachers need to be invested in. They need to be better trained. They need to have because they are teaching our next generation of students, and which allows us to continue to have a good standard of living, good quality of life. So it's essential that teachers need to be a high-end kind of job where they're benefiting our society, and they should be viewed as that kind of job because they're essential to our country. So one of the things I've noticed is that I've had students come through and talk to me and say, well, I'm not great at math, I never was really taught well, I don't think I'm good at math or science, I never can do that, I'm never going to be someone like that. And I talked to them and I realized that it's not essentially their fault, it's more that the teacher was not able to make it relatable or make it understandable, and that kind of closes off their opportunities. Now, one of my students, Alfred here, never had a great math teacher, and he struggled through high school in math and thought he was never good at math.
No, none of my teachers really made it relatable. I mean, they went up to the board and they showed me the equations, they showed me everything that I needed to get the problem right, but I never understood what I was learning. And that was really the problem for me. I just don't think I'm good at math.
Now, if students like Alfred here had better teachers, they could have become a mathematician or someone who would benefit society in that way. But that opportunity was closed off because he was never taught to a standard that should be required by all schools. And if a lot of these students were better taught, maybe they wouldn't have dropped out, or maybe they would have had a better life. And if you look at the statistics of it, the class of 2010, there was 1.3 million dropouts across the United States. And if they had all graduated, their cumulative benefit throughout their lifetime would equate to $237 billion. That's a lot of money for just one class if they all graduated. And it's very feasible to make it so that that we can raise our graduation rates. If we taught them better classes and we ignited more of a passion for learning. Because a lot of students are taught and they don't feel the subject, they don't understand it, and they can't make connections. So a teacher needs to be able to implement something that allows them to make a connection to something they already know, or something that puts in terms that they can understand. And that way, they can have a passion for it and understand it. I mean, personally, I remember when I was a kid, my parents always enforced like math and sciences. They would always play math games with me, and we would add, subtract, and I thought it was a fun game, and I loved it. I loved doing math, and I loved learning about science and all the cool things, and they always had the answers for me. And I want teachers to be able to provide that same kind of feeling to students, to be able to answer and have all the answers for students and make them understand what the subject's about, and maybe they can relate to it and develop a passion and love something about education. And if these students were in a better curriculum, they would be able to benefit our society a lot more. I mean, if you look at our GDP, which is around 17 trillion, if we improved our education standards, our GDP could increase as much as 153%. That's a lot of money. That's almost $8 trillion. That's a little more than $8 trillion right there. That can improve our GDP just from education and from higher standard jobs.